Hi everyone, it's Mr. Lentz coming to you again through the power of the internet. Today I wanted to talk about another grammar mechanic, and that's active and passive voice. So you're really going to have an understanding of what verbs are, what subjects are, and what objects, specifically direct objects, are in a sentence. So verbs and the active voice. Verbs can be active or passive, and I'll explain what that means in a second. When a verb is active, the subject of the sentence does something. Let's look at this sentence for example. Jessica hit the ball out of the park. Jessica is our subject. Hit is the verb. Who did the hitting? Jessica. Let's look at another example. Jose sang a song. Jose is our subject. Sang is the verb. Who sang a song? Jose did. And our last example. Keith performed the new dance. Performed is my verb. Who did the performing? Keith did. In each of these sentences, the subject is the one performing the action of the sentence, which makes all of these sentences an active voice. In active voice, we use the basic form of verbs, and they can be used in present tense, past tense, or future tense. The subject or the actor of the sentence is the one who appears before the verb. Now, verbs can also be written in passive voice. When a verb is in passive, or when a sentence is in passive voice, it means that something happens to the subject of the sentence. You'll see it's kind of flip-flopped from the previous sentences. The ball was hit out of the park by Jessica. So now we've taken the direct object and we've put it in the place of the subject where it was originally. So what was hit? The ball was hit. Notice that Jessica is still doing the hitting. She's just moved to the back of the sentence. This places more emphasis on the ball than it does Jessica. The song was sung by Jose. Jose is still singing the song, but he's not the subject of the sentence anymore because our verb has changed. Let's look at another example. The new dance was performed by Keith. Keith is still the one dancing, but because the verb was changed, dance is the subject of our sentence now. Originally, it was the object. Notice that in each of these sentences, the original subject is being moved to the back, and the direct object is being moved to the front. Passive voice uses to be form of verbs. What would normally be the direct object of the sentence now appears at the beginning. Your to be form of verbs are, for example, are words like am, is, was, were, be, been, and so forth. So if we have active voice and passive voice, which one should we use? Well, sometimes we can't get away with active voice all the time. Sometimes we have to use the passive voice because there's no other way to emphasize that something is being acted upon. But usually we want to use active voice. And here's why. Jim jumped out of the plane. This sentence is written in active voice. It's a lot easier to understand. Plus, it places emphasis on the actor. Who's doing the jumping? Jim is. That's why he's placed at the beginning of the sentence. Now, let's take this sentence and write it in passive voice. The plane was jumped out of by Jim. Do you see how this one's a little more awkward? We're taking the object of the prepositional phrase and placing it at the beginning, and we're taking the actor of the sentence and putting them at the end. This sentence places more emphasis on the plane rather than Jim. Active voice places emphasis on the subject or the actor of the sentence, whereas passive voice places emphasis on the object being acted upon. So here's some tips for you. You want to make sure that you don't shift your voice in a sentence. If you start active, finish active. If you start passive, finish passive. When Alice pulled the fire alarm, a loud ringing was heard. So you can see in the first part of this sentence, pulled is my verb, Alice is my subject. The first part is active. Alice is pulling the fire alarm. But the second half of this sentence is written in passive voice. A loud ringing was heard. But there's no actor here. We don't know who heard the ringing. So if you begin in active voice, maintain it for the rest of the sentence. When Alice pulled the fire alarm, the students heard a loud ringing. Now we have an actor in both parts of the sentence. Hopefully you found this tutorial helpful, and I will see you all in the next one.